Close and secure all possible entrances to your home. Switch off all lights. Do not look out of any windows. Do not respond to any knocks on your windows or doors until the all clear is given. Remain silent at all times.
It's like, this dude's too cool for long sentences.
He said the key words. He said,
streaming live around the world, this is Paper Cuts
We call it a poop bag.
with Brad and Jay.
Yeah, it's got a new show.
It came to you like basically straight from my brain.
We're not going to have those devil books in here.
We are live.
And away we go, everyone.
Here we
Welcome to another episode of Paper Cuts, episode number 18, Brad. Can you believe that?
No, I can't, honestly.
Or,
I thought we'd be like 3 and done.
Yeah, you've been here for 94% of them, by the way.
Yeah. Maybe 95%. Give me,
No,
at least
I did the math earlier.
You did the math?
I did the math earlier. What's going on, everyone? My name is Jay. Thanks for joining us. Over there is Brad Proctor. You know him from the channel Brad Proctor. But that's enough of us. No,
Yeah.
We have a legend with us tonight. I don't know how we were able to do this one, but we have a legend. And
We're
I'm just
really
going to
lucky.
I'm just going to name a few of his books because he's got a huge library. And if I start naming all of them, we'll be here till Sunday. And I guess I have a family fun day planned with the family on Sunday, so I can't miss that. Of course, we have Fear, which I'm going to hold this one up because it's the zebra one that everyone is just pining for.
Mhm.
We have Bloodkin, Undertaker's Moon, Mr. Glowbones, a reissue, by the way, with original artwork. Brad, I think you love Irish Gothic, right?
I did. It was good.
The Essential Six stuff, which is a Splatterpunk award winner, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken. And he has now entered the world of Westerns with his soon-to-be released The Saga of Dead-Eye, Book 1, Vampires, Zombies, and Mojo Men. Everyone, we have the Southern Fried Horror Master himself. Please welcome to the show, Ronald Kelly. Yay.
What's going on, Ronald? So I got a package in the mail today, Jay. From
That's
a one.
nice. I just wish I could get mail, but go ahead.
I got it from a one R Kelly, so hopefully it's Ronald Kelly and not the other R Kelly. So I'm gonna open this up.
I just thought about that.
I'd be afraid to open it if it was.
I know.
Exactly.
So
Ouch.
what's in here? Someone might be able to win this exact, not this copy. This is my copy, but a copy just like this. So everybody's got to stick around because we're going to do a giveaway later.
And then we have to wait for you to open it too. It's like live TV here.
Live TV. So we got Fear. You've got the cool old school edition. This is the newer edition.
Mhm.
And Ronald always does cool stuff. He always signs it and draws a little artwork in there.
Hear that?
There's snake
Nice.
Now,
So
is
you
that,
can-
is that issue still available? Is that kind or
No, because Sinister Grin has closed their doors and it's no longer available on Amazon. So I've got a few copies left. Quite a few people bought it from me when they found out that you couldn't get it anymore. But I got a few copies left. But hopefully next year sometime we'll be putting out a new paperback version.
so if
Nice.
we see it now on Amazon, it's probably from a third party seller selling it for like triple digits.
It'll be $300 or
Yeah.
something. So if you want, I bought it from Ronald the other day. So if you're interested, he said he has a few copies left.
I do have a few copies.
Go check it out. It's a thick boy.
Oh, it's shiny too. I like
It's
that.
nice. Did you draw the artwork for this one as well?
No, Keith Minion did the artwork for
Okay.
that.
So is that the actual picture of the thing that's inside Fear? Is that what you had in mind? What's on front of that cover?
Yeah, it's sort of almost like an abstract kind of depiction of it.
Right, because the old one has like a cocoon looking
Yes,
thing. So.
and then the Thunderstorm hardcover edition had Alex McVeigh did that's Zach McCain did that interior artwork on there, but the Thunderstorm version had a Alex McVeigh's snake critter on it.
And I remember when we talked to you last time, you said that you had no clue what was going to be on the cover of the paperback. They just mocked it up and sent it out, and you're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, the only time I know what the cover looked like is when they send me like a pack of 25 cover flats. It's the actual wraparound cover that's going to be on the paperback, and you'd open it up, just and
hope it's good. Hope it's good.
Sometimes you loved it, and sometimes you didn't love it.
I mean, did they take any of your suggestions or anything, or did they even ask?
No, I had it was very little contact with Zebra when I wrote for me. I worked through an agent, and my agent delivered the manuscripts, and sometimes I'd get a little input from editors, and that was about it. I mean, I didn't have any input. Sometimes they would change the titles, and I tried to get them to change them back, but the only title that they kept was Blood Kin. That was the only title, original.
So for those wondering, like we're talking about Zebra Books, who released your first handful, 6?
8.
8 of your first novels, and those are the ones that are pretty hard to get. They stopped their horror line. When was it? 96. I want to say. Yeah,
that's when they shut it down. 96.
Okay, and so you've been releasing everything you've done with them lately, like separate from them now,
little by little.
Okay.
Paul Goblich put out the whole 8 novels in hardcover a few years ago, and we're just gradually putting out, some. Next year, I think we're going to put out Hindsight and maybe one other, maybe The Darken or something like that.
And Hindsight was your first official novel?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that was the first novel.
I know there's new artwork for Bloodkin, right? Did that come out this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it came out this past summer.
Right, with the man's face on the. I don't think I saw the original. What was on the cover for that one?
I love the new cover with the guy's face.
Right.
Looking out. That's a good one.
Yeah, that Alex McVeigh did that. He does. Alex and Zach McCain do about 85-90% of my covers. So we work closely. I give them ideas, and they take it and run with it. Sometimes I send them a sketch or two, and it's real easy working with them. I've been working with them since 2006. So
that's cool. So with your new book coming out, the Saga of Dead-Eye, Book 1.
Right.
So in the introduction, you talk about how you wrote almost 800-page or almost 900-page horror western, and it was about the same character, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't a horror book. It was just a plain. It was like
plain western,
epic traditional western. I mean, Dead-Eye was all over the place. He was fighting, mountain men and Native Americans and all kinds of, he had all kinds of adventures in this book. And I thought, well, this is going to be my breakthrough novel and everything. And I sent it to my agent, and he said, whoa, now, the Western market is they're accustomed to like 150 page books,
900 pages where you could.
I wasn't Larry McMurdy or anything like that.
Right.
And this was before Zebra and everything, right?
Yes. No, this was after.
Was it after?
No, this was before Zebra. Yeah.
Before Zebra. Okay.
This was the period that I was trying to get published. I hadn't had anything published at the time, and I was jumping from one genre to the other. I went from men's adventure to suspense to, and then I started writing westerns because I read a lot of westerns, and so I wrote that big one, and then I wrote Timber Gray and shopped it around for a while, and Bad Moon Books published it later on after I came back from being gone for 10 years.
Just real quick, while Chad Lutzke's in the chat, just to make him jealous, I have the zebra.
He wanted that the other day.
Fear. He'll
I wish I had a
never come back on the
box
show. He'll never come back on the show now that I made rubbed it in his face a little bit. But
So from that the 800-page book, did you take any of that to put into the new ones at all, or is this completely fresh and new?
It's completely fresh and new.
Okay.
Yeah, I may go back and read through the old book to see if there might be some, maybe some ideas I could get out of it.
go for it. You might have like a special character in there you forgot
Now
about.
the first part where Dead-Eye comes back from the war before he becomes Dead-Eye, that had a little bit that I kind of kept that because I won't tell what the plot is or anything, but what it is Joshua Wingate is a former Confederate officer, and he comes home and finds that his house has been trashed and everything, and his son has been abducted, and his wife has been turned into a vampire. So after he hits the road and pursues this vampire outlaw and his minions who are from hell, and a dark witch named Evangeline who are traveling with him, and so I won't go any further than that because I don't want to give a whole lot away.
Don't give away everything. Just
it's very, very pulpy, very I don't know what the word is. It's not cheesy. That's not the right word. But it's fun. It's entertaining. It's not super serious, but it's really fun. I really enjoyed it.
It's not splatterpunk like the other westerns coming out right now, right? No. Okay.
There is gore and violence in here, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Blood spurting and stuff, but it's not over the top, like gratuitous or anything.
It's more dark horror. I'm thinking just straightforward horror.
There's a lot of dark humor in it too. So.
Yeah,
I like that.
And I've had fun having Dead-Eye and Job play off each other. It's almost like a Hap and Leonard kind of relationship. And
yeah, that's what it is. Job is really funny in the book. I like him. He's the Mojo Man for people who haven't read it yet.
So how many of these do you have planned?
I have 5 books planned over 3 years.
Okay, and we're going to follow some of the same characters throughout.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they'll be going, through the West from territory to territory.
Okay.
I think in book 2 they cross the Mississippi River, go into the Ozark Mountains, then go down through the Indian territories, which was Oklahoma, and then into Louisiana, and then into Texas, and then start coming up again. I'm trying to cover all the bases.
It almost feels like little novelettes. Like each chapter is like a different little, not necessarily mission, but different little encounter that they go through that are all weaved and connected together as they travel along.
I can't wait to check it out now. You got me all excited.
It's cool. I really enjoyed it.
Now, a lot of people say Fear was written that way, especially when they go over into Fair County and they encounter different monsters and characters. It's almost like each chapter is like a short story. So maybe that carried over from Fear.
So, Brad, you ever read Fear, right?
I have not, but there are, I don't want to say what, there's some Easter eggs in here from other stuff. Some of his other books. Did you have fun doing that? Have you done that before? Easter eggs, drop it in and stuff?
No, not really. I mean, I have in short stories, like in the Halloween books, I had a couple of stories where, they mentioned Fear County or the werewolves and the Irish werewolves, which was in Undertaker's Moon, or Grandpappy Craven, who was in Blood Kin. So yeah, I'm beginning to sprinkle a little of the arcade mythos in some of my short stories, but it's gonna come out quite a bit in Dead-Eye. I mean, I can't refer to like present day characters and stuff, but
yeah,
I mean, one thing in this, the witch is able to conjure like a dimensional portal. And summon demons and monsters and stuff out of that portal, and there's some time travel involved too. So no telling who's going to show up in Dead-Eye.
There you go. So you're creating your own Ronald Kelly universe, kind of like Stephen King does. This is your Dark Tower series right here.
Yeah, it took me a long time.
So do you have all 5 planned out already, or
I've got like a little synopsis of each one.
Okay.
Now, the last one, it's not in concrete because it could change,
Mhm.
But the other ones are. I've got all. They encounter like 2 or 3 monsters in each book. So
Yeah.
the next, the title to book 2 is Werewolves, Creatures, and Hellacious Haints. So,
Do they go to Kentucky for the Haints?
no, that's going to be
Dang
in Texas. It's going to be a ghost town in Texas.
Okay.
Just a little
So if you
side
had-
note, real quick. Chad says he's got himself a zero copy, just so in my
Yeah.
face. I can't make
Chad-
fun of him now. So.
Chad's famous. Someone sent him one.
So here we go.
So in this one, again, there's a creature in here, sort of arachnid-ish, but it's something different. Is that something you made up, or is that something that you took from folklore or mythology or anything?
No, that's just something that came out of my head.
Was it?
I was thinking, there could be some cosmic horror, spilling over, beings from other universes, other dimensions, and stuff like that. And Evangeline, the witch, is kind of, she's kind of recruiting some people to fight Deadeye and Job. So,
Yeah.
some creatures. So, no telling what's going to happen in these books because I'm kind of brainstorming the second one right now, and it's going to be a fun one. It's they're out of Tennessee, they're out of the South, and they're heading into the West, and it's really gonna. It looks like it's gonna be fun.
It sounds like it's very like chaotic. I'm excited to check it out.
Yeah.
Almost like,
It is.
It's almost like, you know what, you're like, screw it. I'm throwing in everything I ever thought of just into this series, and I'll see what sticks.
And it doesn't feel out of place because it's about black magic and voodoo and stuff. So all these creatures and stuff, they fit. They don't seem like they're just thrown in out of left field. It's pretty cool. Are they? Go ahead, Jay.
I was gonna ask, what's the official release date of this? It's December.
It's December 14th.
Okay.
Now, Thunderstorm's putting out the limited hardcover probably at the end of this month.
Okay.
Then December 14th, Silver Shamrock is going to put out the paperback and ebook.
And they're doing all 5 Silver Shamrock?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Are they all, or you might not even know, are they all going to be about the same length, or you don't really know?
Yeah,
yet?
I'd say it's going to be the same length. Yeah, almost novella length. So it's almost like my Green Mile kind of.
Yeah, there you go. A little serialized.
Nice. And then when you get to the end, you can release them all together too.
Right.
One
So
good
every
roundup,
6 months, you're going to get a Deadeye. So that's
Awesome.
Nice. Are you going to draw? Because you drew the cover for this one, right?
No,
yours?
Alex McVeigh did the cover. He's
Oh,
going
did
to
he?
do the
Okay.
cover for all of them. Now
Okay.
I did the interior artwork in there.
Did you?
Yeah. Yes, the gun, which was kind of a Photoshop kind of thing. I mean, I took a actual gun and kind of converted it into a illustration, but the one with the voodoo charms and stuff, I did that freehand.
There you go.
Yes, that one with the chicken foot and all that. Now, I actually went on a voodoo website, a voodoo supply website, and to see what kind of voodoo charms they had and all that. So
Voodoo R Us, or how do you just find a voodoo supply website?
Voodoo.com.
it was Madam Somebody's voodoo house.
Hopefully nobody's like checking your search history or anything.
So there's some go ahead. I'm sorry.
There was some really weird stuff on that website.
Some of the dark side you don't want to.
Yeah. Just write a book about the weird websites you have to go to for research to write a book.
Yeah.
With this, there's some like historical references in here because it takes place shortly after the Civil War and whatnot. Did you do much research historical wise?
Yeah, I've always been a big history buff. I've always been heavily into the Civil War and the Old West. So a lot of this is almost like second nature to me. I mean, I've been reading and studying about this stuff for a long time. And once they get out into the West, they are going to encounter some Western icons, like some gunfighters, maybe some
Okay.
marshals and characters. So it's going to be fun. I'm gonna kind of include. It's going to be a mixed bag. It's going to be a lot of my stuff, and it's going to be a lot of Western history, and so
Is this the only project you're really working on right now, or do you have several other things?
I've got several other things. I've got so many irons in the fire. It's just it's insane.
I think I asked you that before. You told me, I'm not ever stopping. So that that sounds about right.
up until the 2020, I was. I almost quit writing in 2019 because I thought, I was on social media and nobody seemed to know who I was, and I thought, why am I even trying? And then they did a reading of Fear on horror aficionados on.
Was it the podcast?
No, it's the website. It's the book website. What is that called? They did
I don't know.
They did a reading.
And
so a lot of people read Fear and really started getting interested in my work. Goodreads. Now, why did that
there you
slip
go.
my mind?
We're on it every day. I'm sorry.
It's like the most common things. Like, what is that called again? I do that all the time.
Everything's Twitter and Facebook to me now. So
right.
But
there you go.
anyway, they did a reading of Fear, and a lot of people enjoyed it. And then I got in touch with Ken McKinley at Silver Shamrock and told him I'd like to do Essential Six stuff, and so we put that together, and it did very well, and then I started doing like the little Halloween collections and Christmas collections and stuff like that, and got the ball rolling, and now it's just, it's starting to take off.
Yeah, I'll tell you that the way I got my copy of Fear, your stalker that's in the chat now, Nick, he actually sent me a copy. Yeah.
Nick was instrumental in bringing Fear, to the limelight, kind of, because he
was championing it for a long time in a lot of his videos, and
I'm very thankful to Nick for that, and there's several other people that that's really brought it to attention and everything. So I wrote Fear back in 1994, and I wrote it and it's published, and I forgot about it. So it wasn't like I thought it was anything special, because when you wrote for Zebra, you wrote the book and published it, and then it was just, they took it off the shelf with some more Zebra books, and you didn't think anything else about it. But I guess Zebra was Fear was my best-selling book. it had several printings, I think.
So did you know how well it was doing at the time?
No.
Now on social media, you have ways to see if something's happening pretty good, but it sounds like you had no kind of communication there.
No,
they weren't telling you how good it was going. Yeah.
No. When I got my royalty check, I kind of knew, because they told how many copies had been sold. So
okay. Yeah. Things have changed so much.
Yeah, they have.
Because I know you put out that tweet, I don't know, maybe a month or so ago now, where you were kind of talking about it, like you were sort of thinking about giving up writing and stuff, and you sort of had this influx of fandom come in. Has that just kind of blown your mind in a way?
It has, yeah. I'm busier. This week alone, I've had two people contacted me about doing forwards for anthologies. I had like 4 people want me to read books for blurbs. I actually made 2 deals, short story deals this week. So it's been busy. And I'm tomorrow I'll be 62 years old, and
well, happy early birthday.
You're
spending your birthday eve with us. I don't know what you're doing that for.
But hey,
what's
I'm
wrong
ready,
with you, man?
I'm ready to retire and sit down and write. That's what I'm ready for.
There you go. So do you still have a normal 9 to 5 job as well?
I do. I've worked for PPG. That's the biggest paint company in the world. They used to be Pittsburgh Paints. So I've worked there for just about 21 years, and I work in the quality department.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, you definitely need to retire to spend more time writing these books.
Oh yeah, I've got plenty to do.
So many people say that though. I've said it too, but I know it's not gonna put food on the table. Right?
No.
No. So you've released a nice mixture of short story collections and novels. What do you prefer? Because there's a lot of short story collections of yours.
I prefer short story. I mean, I'm basically a short story writer. I mean, that's what I started out. The little small press magazines back in the late '80s and early '90s.
Or as my daughter says, the late 1900s now. It just makes me feel so old. I guess
feels like it, yeah.
Yeah, her school calls it the late 1900s. We're like, what?
But when I started writing, I started out with Richard Chismar and Bentley Little, and we were all in the same little magazines, and Elizabeth Massey and a lot of writers and
who can say that those are the people you came up with? That's a pretty big resume right there. The people you came up with.
I believe I knew Richard before he even decided to do the magazine. So, it was a good time back then. It was like it is now. I mean,
right.
There was a lot of horror writers. There was a lot of little magazines out. That's the way it was back then. The internet wasn't, it might have just been starting back there and back in the early 90s.
Dial up. AOL.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But everything was snail mail and magazines and stuff like that. There was professional magazines like Twilight Zone and Night Cry, and I never got into any of the major magazines, but I did get into quite a few of the major anthologies like Shock Rock and Hot Blood, and so that was fun.
So to sort of play off that with the internet now and social media and everything's instant, has that changed the way you write or look at stories or anything at all?
It does.
It does it?
Yeah, I mean it's it kind of excites you. You get on. I mean, I have contact with my readers now, and I talk to them every day. I've got a lot of readers that's become really good friends, and it would be like that if it wasn't for social media. Right. Back then, we would, fellow writers, would write letters to each other or give each other a phone call, but now, I mean, you can talk to dozens and dozens of people in a day. If of course you won't get much writing done if you do that.
Right.
I know Twitter's
off the Twitter.
Twitter's bad. It's a time suck.
Oh, it is. Yes.
It can become very expensive too, because you start to discover so many different writers. It's different styles, and you want to support everybody. So you start buying and buying and buying and buying, and then before you know it, your to be read list is like a lifetime long. So,
and your wife's yelling at you about all the money you spend on your books.
Oh yeah, she will. You'd rather go to the Dollar Tree or Hobby Lobby than spend money on books. So.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask about the Western again. So, the Westerns have become really popular again with Death's Head Press putting out the splatter Westerns and whatnot. Did that sort of surprise you, the rejuvenation of just the Western genre in general?
Really, yeah. I mean, because nobody had been writing, I mean, the Western, the traditional Western market is really narrow. I mean, I tried to get into it for years, and there was a set amount of Western authors, and you just couldn't break into it. And so I kind of got away from Westerns, back when, in the 80s, late 80s and 90s, when I was writing before, we had like Joe Lansdale had the Magic Wagon and Dead in I think it's Dead in the West, and they put out Razored Saddles, was a really good anthology that that had a lot of weird Western stories in it and everything. But up until Death's Head Press started putting out these splatter westerns, weird westerns was just a thing of the past. So, it was really exciting when they started coming out. So I thought, well, old Deadeye's been sitting over there in that chest for a long time. I'm going to resurrect him.
You can say you're the original. I mean, you're the OG of the Western horrors now. show these young whippersnappers how to do it.
Well, I was thinking when I did Deadeye, I thought, well, everybody's going to think I'm jumping on the bandwagon, but Deadeye has been around since I was 16 years old. Right. That's when I created Deadeye. So he's just been, he's been sleeping in the tomb until he could jump out and do his thing.
But I don't think the way the horror community is, I don't think they would look at it as jumping on the bandwagon. They'd be looking at it like, holy shit, Ronald Kelly is going to write a Western horror for us, So, I mean, that's where I would be looking at it. So,
I just hope I do it justice. That's all.
So what has it been like? I mean, the book's not out yet, but what does it feel like to you to be able to take this character you created when you were 16, and it's now going to see the light of day for the public to get to read about him and goes on those adventures with him?
Oh, it feels great. I mean, I've been wanting to do this for years and years, and I actually pitched Deadeye to Berkeley Books back in 1993, and because I thought, well, I can do a horror Western series where he fights one monster a book. Yeah. And they were interested at first, but they thought, well, you're not going to be able to sustain that for very long because, they were, like with the Jake Logan Western series, they did like 200-300 books. So, there's no way you can get that many cryptids and monsters together. I'd be, having Deadeye in space with aliens.
I know. It'd be like a lot of repeat.
Jason X.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that does kind of feel like I said earlier, each chapter almost feels like its own little contained. I mean, it feels connected, but each one feels like it's a little contained. Or we're going to this town.
Maybe that's just the way I write. When I write like a chapter, it's almost like I'm writing a short story, and I kind of structure it that way a little bit. But if that's the way it works, and if people enjoy it, then I'm all for it.
Yeah,
go with it. If it works that way, do it. So, question from your
biggest fan.
Biggest fan in there. Ask him when is Bloodkin going to?
When's Bloodkin going to be on the big screen?
Oh, I wish. I'm just waiting for a call, I guess. But who knows? I mean, things are moving in the right direction as far as like Netflix and some of these streaming channels that's really doing some great horror. I think Fear would do well as like a mini series or something like that.
I was gonna say, so you have not been asked by any of these Hulu or Netflix?
No, now about a year and a half ago, I was approached about Hell Hollow.
Okay.
By a director, but COVID came along and just kind of squashed that plan.
Have you ever adapted any of your stuff into a screenplay at all?
No, I had somebody do a script of Fear, and tried to shop it around and everything, but he altered. He had Jeb, instead of a 10-year-old boy, be a teenager, and I just didn't think. And it was set in the 50s.
I think you kind of lose some of the innocence that way.
Yeah, I think so.
For those who haven't read it, so you lose a little innocence. Speaking of just real quick, your number one fan in there, he released a anthology, and there happens to be a Ronald Kelly story in here.
Yeah, that's an original story.
Did he camp out on your front porch until you gave him one, or what happened here?
No, actually, I offered to I said, would you like to have a Ron
Woodshed.
Kelly story in your
I don't know if you can see that.
woodshed?
There you go.
Woodshed, nice.
And that's a short story, which you just said earlier. You're more of a fan of writing, so
Mhm.
there we go.
Yeah, I am. That's why I put so many little collections out and everything. We put this spider collection, the Web of Le Sanguinaire. We put that out. D&T put that out in this past summer. It's sold very well.
That gave me some heebie-jeebies at times.
Yeah, I remember your review of that. That was great.
So I haven't read
spiders. Yeah.
I haven't read that one yet, but I want to ask, with a collection like that where the theme is very, pinpointed down, it's all about spiders.
Mhm.
Was it hard to come up with all these different stories but still have them be related to spiders and not feel like it's the same story every time?
No, not really.
They're all different, trust me.
There are a few, like the Web of Le Sanguinaire. That I wrote that. I think that was published in 1988. So,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people like that because it was a Cajun swamp story. And
Okay.
so I sort of took like the spider theme and kind of took it in a whole lot of different directions in this collection.
For this one, Emily, no aesthetic. Is that what you're talking about?
Hmm?
Somebody's asking what the name of the anthology is. The La Sanguinaire, that's like there was one that was almost like a B movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course there was the casual one you were talking about. It was almost like a bunch of different genres into one, all connected with these spiders. Yeah.
I even had a love story in there. And that was a weird one, but the last one, Come See Spider Cave. I got that idea because we used to go to like Chattanooga when I was a kid, go to Rock City and Ruby Falls. And Ruby Falls is an underground waterfall, and you go in this elevator all the way down like a mile down into the earth to see this waterfall. So I thought, well, what if it was just a cave full of big spiders and stuff, and they got stuck in there? So
that'd be horrible. I wouldn't even care about the spiders. I just would not want to be stuck in the cave.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we get what did I say? We get spiders everywhere you are, but like some of the size of the ones in the stories, I would just freak out, just flat out. So.
I would too. I don't like spiders.
Yeah.
So, do you have any real life phobias that you've written into a book before, like spiders or anything?
Well, I don't like spiders so much, but I snakes totally terrify me, and
Okay.
I'm about to do a snake collection. So we'll see where that goes.
Is that one going to be tough to write then if you're scared of snakes
You're
yourself?
just glutton for punishment. What's
I
going
am.
on?
Now, one thing that really scares me is wasp. If
Yeah.
wasp gets in the house, I'll run into a wall trying to get away from it.
So we need a wasp story from you then.
I don't know if I can stretch a wasp.
Wasp stinging somebody on the eye. There you go.
Ooh, no, that's awful. Don't do the eye stuff.
I can't do the snakes and rats, stuff like that. I just can't.
Like animals don't really
I
bother
do
me.
it, but yeah, those are some of
Like stuff messing with my eyeballs, I don't like, and then claustrophobic, like not like elevators or anything, but like going in a cave and having to squeeze through. Nope, I'll back out the other way. I can't do that.
Yeah. But so the other short story collection you re-release this year, Mr. Glowbones.
Mm-hmm.
This has, what is it, 12 original pieces of art you put in there?
Yes, it did. Now,
So I never saw the original one. It had no kind of artwork in it,
No.
or what?
I
Okay.
did the cover artwork for it. The cover of Mr. Glowbones was a painting I did. So Thunderstorm did that back in 2014, I think, and it was a limited edition, and limited amount of people got to read it. So it's been an ebook for a while, and then I thought, well, I'm going to put it out in paperback because I'm doing more book signings and stuff like that, and I like to have something to sell, and so I thought, well, maybe I should do some artwork inside, and I did the 12 original black and white interior pieces, and it was fun. It's the first time I've done that before. In the Essential Six stuff, Alex McVeigh did like 23 black and white illustrations inside. So I'm heavily into art with my books. We're doing Silver Sandbox doing some little collections. I'm doing with them called the first one's going to be Haunt of Southern Fried Fear. It's kind of a take on the EC horror comics, and Alex did a cool comic book cover of it, and
I don't know if that shows up or not. Just some of the, like, I know when I was doing my review for Mr. Glowbones, I didn't want to show the pictures because I was like, hey, go buy the book
Go buy it.
because that's the bonus to see the pictures in it.
right, yeah.
When is the like comic things coming out with Silver Shamrock?
It'll be coming out. The first one coming out in February, and
Okay,
it's going to be all ghost stories.
It's not showing up too well, is it? No.
because those really remind me of like old Tales from the Crypt kind of comics and stuff. The way the covers are done.
Yeah, I think Ken took the Haunt of Fear and Tales from the Crypt and all that, and he put Southern Fried in the middle of it.
Is yours going to be the first one coming out? Do you know?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's going to be my little. I mean, I think he's got some other like chat. I mean, they're not going to be chat books. They're going to be like small, maybe 1 or 2 stories by certain people. But mine's going to be the Southern Fried.
Because I think Laurel Hightower has one for sure. I know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who else does. So is that
somebody,
fun?
If somebody was to ask you what is Southern Fried, what is the definition you give them?
Well, that came about when I came back in 2006. Hunter Goatley, who does Robert McCammon's website, put my website together, and he said, "Well, here's the link," and I pulled it up, and he had Southern Fried Horror at the top, and I thought, "Hey, I love that, and let's keep that." So that's kind of become my trademark, kind of. Right. So
it's like your motto.
Yeah, it's my brand.
It works.
I got my Southern Fried T-shirt here.
There you go.
That's my art too.
So is it cool to do sort of this comic book style book? Considering in high school you wanted to write comic books.
Yeah, it's not going to actually be. I mean, it's going to have like fiction stories in it.
Yeah,
but they're kind of like EC flavored stories. Mm-hmm. And I am going to do some interiors of that. I'm going to do it's going to look like a comic book panel, and like maybe 1 per story or something like that.
Okay.
And
cool.
And I'm going to have like a EC horror comics kind of host called the Old Storyteller, and mm-hmm. he's going to kind of introduce each volume. We've got 3. I think we've got 3 volumes lined up for the next 3 years. So every February I'm going to have one come out.
It's like mixing 2 different worlds, like graphic novels and regular novels. Worlds collide.
With your love of comics, have you ever wanted to adapt one of your novels into a comic book, like a graphic novel or anything?
It would be fun. I mean, there's several of my books I think would do very well as a graphic novel, like Fear or Undertaker's Moon or The Darken would be a really good one. A lot of people don't know a lot about The Darken because it's about it's like a species of changelings on this Tennessee mountain, and there's mm-hmm. one among they're albino, and one among them is jet black, and he's pretty nasty, and he's named the Darken, and he's kind of their protector, and he turns into everything from ninjas to gunfighters to dinosaurs and stuff like that. So it was a really wild book when I wrote it. And, I remember I turned it into my agent, and he was reading the first 4 or 5 chapters on his way home on the subway, and he missed his subway stop and because he was so engrossed in it. I'm hoping to get that out in paperback so people can read that one.
Yeah. So do you have all the rights to all these old books that were with Zebra and everything?
Okay. Yeah, I do.
And you're releasing them with the real names now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so some of the names were different with Zebra.
Mm-hmm. Now Fear was called Fear County to begin with, but it's so known as Fear that I decided to just keep Fear for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which ones do you have coming up that you're re-releasing in the
I'm going
next
to
year or so?
re-release Hindsight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're going to release Restless Shadows, which was the sequel to Hindsight. Now it wasn't a Zebra book. It was scheduled to be a Zebra book, and Restless Shadows and Hell Hollow were two books I had scheduled with Zebra books when they shut down. So Cemetery Dance did the Hell Hollow when I came back in hardcover. And then I did the Restless Shadows. Thunderstorms did Restless Shadows as a limited, and then we did the ebook and an audio book. So now I want to put it out in paperback.
Do you ever look back at like your older books, like Hindsight, Fear, and then look at what you're doing now, and see much of a difference in writing, or do you think your style stayed the same throughout your whole career?
Yeah, maybe they're a little more Southern. I mean, some of my stories now, I mean, they do have a Southern flavor, but they're not as deeply rural and as they were back then. I guess I was, I still draw on it, but if the story, doesn't have, if it doesn't seem to want to play out as a dark rural, then I can write like suburbs horror and stuff like that. Right. So
with Hindsight being your first one, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the one that was inspired by your mom?
Yes, it was. Yeah, my mother. A lot of people don't believe in second sight and psychics, but I grew up with it. She had it. I mean, she would be able to predict people's deaths and it bothered her. I mean, she would know 2 weeks ahead of time that they were going to die, but she was scared to tell them.
That would be scary. Yeah, that would be scary.
And she felt guilty about it. And she did some good too. I mean, she actually saved people's lives. I remember when I was a small child, my mother would go pick up 2 elderly women from and take them to church. Well, one Sunday morning, she thought, well, I'm going to go get this other woman first. And she was way out of the way. So we went and got her first and went and got the other woman. And then when we came back around to the first woman's house, it was totally engulfed in flames. I mean, if she had been there, she would have died. So that was a strange. And I was very young then. I was like 4 years old or 5. So I just barely remember that.
Is that something that she had kind of throughout her life, or did it just kind of happen when she got older? Or?
No. My grandmother always told me that. So she had typhoid fever when she was like 7 or 8 years old. They would go down to the spring to get water and all that, and she went down there to get water, and mosquitoes covered her, and she got typhoid fever, and I was in the hospital for like months with a high fever. And when she came out of it, my grandmother said that's when she started having these episodes.
Okay. And that's the inspiration for Hindsight, taking those abilities and stuff.
Right.
Did your mom get to read Hindsight?
No. She got cancer the year that I sold it to Zebra, and she was holding out to read it as a book. She said, I want to read it as a book. I tried to get her to read the manuscript, and she said, I'm going to read this as a book. And she never, she died a month before it came out.
No, that's sad.
Yeah.
So it was, Hindsight's a bittersweet book for me. I was elated because it was my first novel, but I wanted her to be there to enjoy it with me.
Yeah. Who's it being put out with again?
Crossroads.
Crossroads.
Yeah. I do a lot of my reissues and everything with Crossroads. They're very easy to work with. They're fast and very good quality. And I usually recruit Alex or Zach to do covers and do the cover layouts and stuff like that. So
you have them on retainer, just whenever you need them.
No, usually I say, would you like to do this? And then they jump on board. So, especially Alex and me, we've got a really unique friendship, and he's, his art kind of goes with mine. I always say it's like gravy and biscuits. That's
There you go.
not a Southern thing.
So what else do you have in the works besides your Dead-Eye Saga stuff?
I'm fixing to start doing the sequel to Fear. It's going to be called Fear Eternal.
He knew my question was coming up about that, so
and so
I think maybe that's what Nick was talking about earlier. He knew he was on Fear. Maybe he was talking about the sequel.
Yeah, people's been wanting me to do it for years, and I've been hesitant because I thought, can I do this justice? Fear is so well loved and everything. I don't want to do anything to kind of, but I've come up with this idea that's gonna knock everybody's socks off, I think. And everybody goes on about Fear makes them cry. Well, this one's gonna really make you cry. I'm sorry.
That just needs to be on the front of the book.
Yeah,
this one's really going to make you cry.
Yeah. I need to do a reread of Fear then to get ready for it. So
yeah. And right now I'm co-writing a book with somebody. I can't say who it is right now, but it's a well-known person.
So what can you say? Like what genre it is? Like it's horror.
Well,
it's Western, or is it just?
It's gonna be like a suspense.
Okay.
Revenge kind of dark crime book kind of.
Nice. So not necessarily horror then, just dark fiction though.
I'm a Rolodex here and try to figure it out.
Have you written anything sort of similar to what you're co-writing, like crime and stuff before, or is this something kind of new?
Well, the person I'm writing with, that's pretty much their
bread
forte,
and butter.
So
okay.
So we kind of came up with that idea. It's gonna be a pretty rough, brutal book. So
nice. I'm gonna guess it's Joe Lansdale. That's my guess.
Oh, I wish. Who knows? Now, somebody tweeted a little while ago that he said you and Brian King ought to write a book, and Brian came on and said I'd write a book with Ron any old day. And
there you go.
And then I got in touch with Brian, and he said, when do you want to do it? So that could happen. It could happen next year. So that would be really cool.
Yeah, make it happen.
Yeah,
you're here first, guys.
Yeah, we're both busy men, so who knows if
yeah.
Nick thinks you're writing a book with Stephen King. He's been on that crime kick lately. King has.
Yeah.
Well, Brad, you want to, since we're about an hour in, you want to do a reading? You want to do a game? You want to do a giveaway? Or what are we doing here?
Ron, what do you want to do? Do you want to do a reading first, or you want to do a giveaway?
Yeah, let's do the reading.
Okay.
All right. Find my glasses. All right, this is a chapter of Dead-Eye. This is before Dead-Eye becomes Dead-Eye. This is when he's Joshua Wingate, and he's on the trail of the vampire and his minions. Okay. Chapter 3, Cartersville, Georgia, late September 1866. For 2 days, Joshua rode northward. He was no scout or tracker like some men he had encountered during the war, but he had no need to be. The path of death and destruction that Holland and his followers blazed across Georgia landscape was apparent and unmistakable. He found horses slaughtered by the side of the trail and their riders either missing or hung from the boughs of trees. At one homestead, a man and woman had been impaled with fence posts and left there to perish in agony. Their faces, frozen in a rictus of pain and great loss, were turned skyward as though begging God for mercy or demanding to know why he had allowed such a senseless demise to take place. Joshua considered burying the two, but he could figure no way to remove them and could find no axe in which to chop the posts down, so he left them where they were. It was a sorrowful thing to surrender them to the buzzards and ants with no proper burial to conceal them. Before he left, Joshua discovered a charred wood the charred wood of a campfire and makeshift spit beneath a hickory tree near the cabin. Small scorched bones littered the ground with scarcely a bit of meat upon them. They were not those of an adult. Further on, Joshua came upon a town. It had been burned to the ground. Only jagged pinnacles of charred timber stood where walls and jousts had once been. The earth of the street was stained dark with pools of congealed blood, but he discovered no victims. His black horse grew skittish, snorting and tossing his head. Joshua looked off toward a shadowy stretch of forest, and even though it was the noon of the day, he shivered, wondering what was concealed there into twilight. At evening of the second day, as he approached the town of Cartersville, Joshua came upon another farmstead. This one seemed deserted. There was not a person to be found. He looked for signs of death and destruction, like the other places, but there were none. The farm was a small one, a single-story house, a barn, chicken coop, and a shed for curing meat. A swing made of a plank and 2 ropes hung from the bough of an oak in the yard, indicating that there had been children there. He noticed that the front door of the structure stood open. "Hello, the house!" he yelled out. Joshua knew that you could get yourself shot if you didn't let folks know you were coming, but the precaution was useless. No one answered. He swung off the Morgan and tied the reins to the front porch railing. He mounted the low steps of the porch and warily peeked inside. There was a single room beyond the doorway, a family room. A stone hearth, long eating table with 4 chairs, a sideboard, and an iron cook stove vented through the ceiling to the roof outside. There was food on the table that had probably been there for a day or so. Green flies buzzed and covered fat back and beans, collard greens, and cornbread. 2 of the chairs lay on the floor, overturned. He checked the adjoining rooms, both bedrooms. No one. In a room bearing a large brass-framed bed, there was a cradle. It was empty. Inside lay a pale blue blanket with 3 drops of blood on the material. Quietly, he walked back into the main room. The western windows gleamed crimson with the waning light of sunset. He knew that it would not be long before darkness began to descend. Joshua was debating whether to spend the night in the empty house or ride further down the trail and camp somewhere else, when he heard a sound coming up through the cracks of the floorboards beneath his feet. Someone was snoring. Joshua's heart quickened. The first thing that came to mind was Elizabeth sleeping in the hollowed-out place in the cellar floor. He looked toward the windows. The crimson had muted to a dark purple. Quickly, he made his way across the floor and back onto the porch. The horse's nostrils were flared. His hoofs milled restlessly in the dust of the yard. Joshua ran a trembling hand down the length of the animal's neck. "I know, boy," he said soothingly. "We're going." He slipped the reins from the rail, swung into the saddle, and urged the horse away from the house. The shadows across the yard were longer and deeper than when he had first arrived, and a growing chill hung in the air. He was 50 yards from the house when a shrill noise cut through his ears. The sound of nails pulling loose as floorboards were pried upward. Joshua dug his boot heels into the flanks of the horse and left the farmstead at a gallop. Half a mile down the road, he tugged the reins and slowed to a canter. He looked over his shoulder but could see nothing. Gloom gathering among the trees and darkened the ruts of the road. Joshua lifted his eyes to the sky. Dark blueness grew deeper by the minute. He reined the horse to a halt and listened intently, perhaps for the flutter of wings. He recalled the bat in the cellar and knew that distance would be no obstacle to things that had been laying beneath the farmhouse floor. He had traveled a quarter mile further when something made him stop again. For a moment, silence pressed against his ears. Then a sound echoed from nearby, one that turned the blood in his veins as cold as ice. It was the giggling of a small child. He looked off into the woods to his left. He saw nothing, just trees and dense underbrush. Against his better judgment, Joshua dismounted and drew his pistol. What if it's a child from the farm, he wondered. What if it escaped what happened to its folks and it's lost in the woods? He stepped off the dirt roadway and started through the high weeds toward a lightning-struck chestnut tree that stood several yards away. But if that was the case, it would be crying, wouldn't it? Not laughing. He reached a tree. It was dead, its trunk split halfway by a bolt of heavenly fury. The giggle came again, magnified by the hollow of the tree. Joshua hooked the toe of his boot in a crevice and lifted himself to look down into the dark opening. He could see nothing. The giggling stopped. He sensed tiny eyes staring up at him, studying him. Still holding the dragoon in his right hand, he dipped his other into his breeches pocket and withdrew the tin of matches. Awkwardly, he fumbled it open, withdrew one, and returned the container to his pocket. Joshua took a deep breath and then struck the sulfur tip against the bark of the tree. It flared into life, first illuminating his face, followed by the contents of the hollow tree as he leaned forward and held it above the opening. "Good God Almighty," he whispered. His nerve threatened to leave him, but he held firm to it, allowing time for his mind to comprehend what he was gazing upon. It was a baby, not even a year in age. If it had been alive, it would have been cute, precious, one that you would have wanted to cradle and cuddle. But it wasn't, and that made it a thing to fear and loathe. Its round, chubby-cheeked face was as pale as that of a china doll, and its glistening eyes were completely black, as though the pupils had expanded and swallowed the whites whole. They twinkled keenly as a tiny blue tongue ran hungrily across equally blue lips. Slowly it began to work its way upward, bracing its stubby arms and legs against the walls of the tree's inner hollow. The thing's belly gurgled, and eagerly it cooed. It no longer craved mother's milk, but sustenance of a more sanguinary nature. When it was almost to the opening in the trunk, its mouth grew wide, impossibly wide, as though its lower jaw had popped loose from its mooring and came unhinged. Bloodless gums began to sprout tiny fangs as sharp and jagged as sewing needles. "Lord, please forgive me," moaned Joshua. He lowered the dragoon and pressed its muzzle against the baby's forehead. He had no doubt in his mind that the child's pale flesh was every bit as cold as the steel of the gun that he held in his hand. He thumbed back the hammer and squeezed the trigger. The .44 caliber pistol discharged, booming like a cannon in his ears. The darkness of the empty tree swallowed the tiny fiend, and he saw it no more. As the gun's report faded, Joshua listened, hoping, praying that the thing was dead. A playful giggle told him that it was not. The damage that the lead projectile had wrought was bound to have been devastating, yet it lived, or rather existed. Joshua jumped down from the tree and stood in indecision for a long moment. Then he turned and walked back to his horse. Behind him, he could hear small sounds from the dark cradle of the burnt-out tree. An owl hooted somewhere off in the forest. A nocturnal sound elicited another giggle from the hidden thing. It was no longer afraid of things in the dark as it once had been. Now it was comfortable with night and its many playthings. Leaving that horrid place, Joshua Wingate rode in darkness for several hours, putting as many miles between him and the farmstead. Then he finally rested for the night. His thoughts turned to things beneath the floor, as well as the thing that dwelled in the hollow tree, and he tossed and turned upon his blankets and fell to sleep peacefully, if he slept any at all.
Nice.
What the hell?
That was Jay's face the whole time. Was like, what?
Wow. I now see what you were talking about earlier, how you kind of make each chapter kind of a short story because that was nice. I was sweating there for a little while.
See, like it's violent and gory, but it's not super over the top crazy.
Right.
So it does sort of fit into the splatter westernish.
I mean, that's like a perfect
genre
teaser
a little bit.
People want to chat like Emily Haynes. Now she has to wait for her copy.
Now she's getting her copy.
Yeah.
And she guessed earlier that you're co-writing with Richard Chismar, by the way.
No, that's not who it is.
We're just gonna keep guessing. He'll just keep saying no until we finally get it right.
I don't think, even if we guess right, he's not going to tell us.
If you've guessed right, I'll say no too. So
that's what I figured. So, that was good.
So if you're into the splatter punk books, the splatter western books, definitely check out Dead-Eye when it comes out because it's right in line with those. So let's do a giveaway.
Okay.
So we're gonna break these up, right?
We'll break it up. We'll have two winners.
Okay. The
first Nick's not allowed to win because I'm sure Nick has all these already.
I think Nick does have all of them. Okay. The first one is for Seasons Creepins, the Christmas collection, and the ornament.
Nice.
Season Creepins, which is Jingle Bones. That's the character of the main story.
So what we'll do is I'll ask a question. It's a Ronald Kelly trivia question in the chat, and the first person to answer it correctly will win Seasons Creepings plus the ornament. So let's see. What audio collection was nominated for a Grammy that was done by Ronald Kelly?
Oh, we haven't talked about that yet tonight.
I haven't talked about that yet. All the other ones we've talked about already. So if people have been listening, they might get the next one. So what's the name of the audio collection that was nominated for a Grammy?
And don't forget, we're on a delay, so we can play some Jeopardy music or something.
They would pretty much have to know some history about me before they could get that. But.
Well, they gotta do some work if they're gonna win a book.
Right? Yeah.
We appreciate you guys watching and listening, but you need to do some work. If you
got to do some work. Google it really quick, and someone get the answer.
Yeah. You can hop on Amazon and see and look it up too. So,
without saying what it is, was that pretty wild to get nominated for a Grammy?
Yeah. Actually, it was on the nominating ballot. I don't know if it made the actual, the end ballot, but. I remember, I've got a printout of it. I've got a scrapbook with some of the old stuff, and I'm right there next to Stephen King. I forgot which book his audio book was, but there was a publisher called Spine Tingling Press back in the 90s. Actually, they were like a new age publisher, and they decided to get into horror, and they did like an audio collection of mine and Bentley Little and some other writers back then, and
not Undertaker's Moon.
That's not it, Nick. But that one. That one did get nominated, so that was kind of a cool deal.
Did you get any special function or anything for it, or was it just like something like in the mail, like, hey, you're on the ballot?
The publisher contacted me and told me that. And
I didn't know that was a thing for audiobooks to get nominated for stuff like that.
Yeah, back then they were like cassette tapes. They wasn't streaming or CDs or anything. So that was the old days. That was back in 1992. So.
Anybody have any guesses? I think this is too hard of a question. I don't think
maybe give the initials.
DD.
I was gonna say that might just give it away if you do.
So is that a short story collection?
It was a short story collection, yeah.
Okay, so it's a short story collection. The initials are DD. There we go. Emily Haynes. Dark Dixie.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Just want to make sure Google is correct.
We don't have like a siren or buzzer or anything. We don't have a budget, so there you have it.
So Emily, if you want to get in contact with Ronald, if you have Twitter, if not, I'll give you our email address and get in contact with him so he can get that mailed out to you.
I know Emily. I think I
Okay.
got her address. So
Okay. Look, Nick, you messed up, man. You missed out. Number one fan didn't get it right.
Nick, you probably already have the book though, right? I would think.
He's probably got
literally
all of them.
Dark Dixie, which one? The Seasons Creepings?
Seasons
Creepings, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Nick's got it or not. Nick's got quite a bit of my books, but I'm not sure if he's got that. I'm not sure if Emily's got that either.
Or what's the other book you want to give away?
Other book is A Copy of Fear.
You
Nice.
want to do that now? Or you want to wait a little bit? We probably do like a lightning round game or something. Or...
Whatever you want to do. And here's the snake critter ornament goes with it. Now that's the snake critter that Alex McVeigh did right there. So it's kind of more the way I picture snake critter and fear.
Yeah, that's what I pictured. That's why I was confused with the other cover because I was thinking of the ornament.
Well, that was the sinister green cover, and this one was on the cover of the Thunderstorm hardcover.
Okay.
Nice. So, do you want to play a game, Ronald? We can play a lightning round with you.
Sure.
Questions. Where'd my questions go? Here we go.
Oh, I should probably hit my 60-second clock then, right?
So we'll do.
I'm never prepared for this for some reason.
We'll give you 60 seconds, and I'll ask you some questions. And you just answer the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Everyone ready?
Hold on, let me get it pulled up.
Bradley?
No, I'm never ready. Well, this is what we spend our budget on. We'll play our little quick video.
Cool.
All right, you got 60 seconds, Jay?
Just let me know when to start.
All right, ready? Start. If you were in the zombie apocalypse, what would your weapon of choice be?
Axe.
What's your favorite TV show of all time?
Twilight Zone.
Ooh.
What's your favorite classic movie monster?
Creature of the Black Lagoon.
Nice.
Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Your dream vacation spot?
Disney World.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Super strength.
Nice. What's your favorite season?
Fall.
Fall. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Rocky Road.
15 seconds.
Favorite comic book hero?
Batman.
What's the worst food you've ever eaten?
5. 3.
Gator tail.
We're at 1 minute.
Who's your favorite horror author?
Robert McCann.
I was going to say that's a loaded question, isn't it?
That's a loaded question. Gator tail. So you didn't like gator tail?
Well, it had so much cayenne pepper on it, I couldn't tell whether it was good or not.
So you're just eating cayenne pepper is what you had.
Yeah, cayenne
side
pepper.
Of gator tail.
Side of gator tail. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're here all week, guys.
Because I've had a gator po' boy before, and it was pretty good, but it wasn't loaded down with cayenne pepper.
Now, I had an uncle who would hunt and eat anything, and like I'd go see him, and he'd have like a raccoon in the oven, cooking, and awesome and all that, and he'd be giving, you want to try some of this, and I'd try it.
You go to your house, you're like, hey, are you cooking chicken? No, that's raccoon. Sorry.
I have had squirrel burgoo before, but I've never had raccoon or possum.
I've had rattlesnake before.
Really?
Actually, I do think I don't know if it was rattlesnake, but I have had snake before. It's kind of like frog legs a little bit. It's kind of mixed between fish and chicken, like the texture. Jay's like, I don't know about that.
I remember eating. My dad was eating squirrel when I must have been in the single digits. So we're talking a lot of years ago, and I think I may have had one little bite, and it was tough. So I don't remember. Yeah, I forget what it tastes like too. Maybe it was rabbit or squirrel. I don't know. Gosh,
Rabbit's good. Juan says gator tail with too much cayenne pepper is the most southern thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I just FYI, this Christmas season, Ronald Kelly is releasing a cooking book.
There you go. I would totally read a cooking book. Joe Lansdale did
with a twist of horror at each recipe. So it's like you have to find roadkill first.
He go to Juniper and get some roadkill.
Yeah,
I got plenty of that down here.
Because Ronald Kelly, but Joe Lansdale did one of the Happen Litter books recently, and each one had a recipe at the end of it. Was pretty cool about whatever they ate in the story. He had a recipe for it at the end. And I
could pretty much do that too because I got a lot of food, and I mean, there's one scene in Fear where I think there's a page and a half of they're at a 4th of July picnic, and there's a page and a half of food. That's all it is.
You should totally do a Southern Fried Horror Cookbook. That would be. I would totally buy that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I never thought about that.
There you go. You can pay me later. I'm just joking.
Can we get the credit in the back?
Yeah,
put my name in
I'll dedicate it to you.
Put paper cuts in the back, and we'll be good. Let's do the other giveaway real quick.
Okay.
So this one is for a copy of Fear Ornament. So first one to answer in the chat will win a copy of this. Oh, where to go? So what is the alternate name for the book Father's Little Helper?
Was delay.
Was Father's Little Helper, was that the original title, or is that what they switched it to?
No, that was and I hated that title because it sounded like a children's book or something like that. But I did like I had like 3 parts to the book, and Father's Little Helper was like part 1, Father's Little Helper, and they thought, "Ooh, that's a good title," you know. Because Zebra was all about those little catchy little titles.
Who was the ad wizard behind that?
Look, Nick got it right.
Oh yeah, he's a big.
Of course, Nick got it right.
Yeah.
Nick, do you not have the copy of that Fear?
I think he does. But I'll be glad to trade any book he wants with it.
So Nick, you win a copy of Fear.
Well, I know he has the one I have.
He's got a lot of them.
Yeah, so he's probably got every single version of it floating ever.
He probably does.
Yeah.
So Nick, drive down to Ronald's house and just knock on his door, and he'll get your copy.
Yeah. Make sure when you send it, use a P.O. box because you don't want him outside your window. Hi, Ron. Hey.
So is that one? Has that one been re-released yet?
Which one?
Here? 12 gauge.
Oh, 12 gauge. No, that's another one I need to release. I'm trying to like do two a year, you know, because
space them out some.
Yeah. The ones I still haven't done is Pitfall, which was my second book, and it's quite a bit of difference from my other books because it took place in Texas. It's about people using fighting Tasmanian devils instead of like fighting dogs, and they import them from Tasmania, and they get loose and they terrorize this. They multiply and terrorize this little Texas town. It's like a wave of hairy piranhas. You know, they eat everything in their path.
Like Gremlins, but to the extreme.
I think it's a really good book. It's just there's several books that people, you know, it's not like Undertaker's Moon or Bloodkin or Fear that people are familiar with, but I've got quite a few books that I think are just as good as the other ones, but people haven't discovered them yet. But once I start putting them out in paperback, maybe people will pick them up and try them.
Because some of these are probably pretty hard to find, aren't they? Probably like secondhand bookshops and stuff.
They are.
Like, go ahead. I was just saying, Pitfall. Can you even get Pitfall anywhere other than like maybe eBay or something?
Just eBay.
Yeah.
Now, the cover for that was weird because it was a silver cover and my name was like took up half the cover, and the the title took up half the cover. It was a really weird thing. I mean, it stroked my ego really good, but
like I remember seeing those kind of covers in the late 80s, early 90s. Like it was always like the name of the book real big and the name of the author real big and not a whole lot of like artwork behind it, just kind of
A lot of Stephen King's books are just his name really huge on there.
Yeah, that's maybe they were trying for that and they just didn't quite make it with me. So
we were talking before we went live. Your kids don't read your stuff. What's going on with that? It's just
my daughter Riley, she likes horror, but she don't read a whole lot. My middle daughter McKenna don't like to read at all. So she's got learning disabilities where she'll read the first chapter, and by the time she gets to the second chapter, she don't remember what the first chapter's like. So she don't like reading. Bubba, my 13-year-old, he's high functioning autistic, but he reads at like 3 levels above his grade level.
That's cool.
Now he wants to read some of my stuff, but I'm hesitant about, I mean, I've got language in them.
My 12-year-old is starting to want to borrow from my collection. So we're like, we're starting to let her watch some horror movies here and there, but some of the books we need to wait on.
I actually thought about like trying to do a mid-grade mid-grade horror series of Fear County, where these kids get lost in Fear County and try to find their way out of it. And
that'd be cool.
I actually discussed it with Ken at Silver Shamrock, and if we could get like Scholastics to pick it up, I think it'd do really well.
Oh yeah. So
that may be down the road a little bit, but I'd like to have something that kids could enjoy.
Yeah. Because we
that's
get a Scholastic order for them like every month. Kids bring those home, so that'd be popular like in schools and stuff.
Yeah.
Like the only reason I brought that up that your kids don't read it because I was just wondering, okay, if they've ever been in school and they had a teacher like, oh, your father's Ronald Kelly, huh? Just making the connection, and maybe one of their teachers like a fan of yours ages ago or whatever. So,
well, actually, my kid's art teacher, she found out I wrote, and she kind of organizes like gatherings in the community, and we did a book signing last month or something. Did
That's
really
cool.
well. And she did my T-shirts for me, my Southern Fried T-shirts.
Oh, cool.
So
do a lot of people like around town, like coworkers and stuff, do they all know that you're an author?
Yeah, the coworkers do. People around. I mean, I've lived in this community for over 20 years and 23 years, and nobody knows I'm a horror writer really. So
you don't have it advertised in your front yard. You're Ronald Kelly, the horror author.
Yeah. I'm active in my church, and I think they know what I write, but they don't criticize me for it.
People taking celebrity bus tours coming by your house.
No,
celebrity bus tour.
Not yet. I hope not.
Yeah,
I do think the YA stuff would be really, or middle grade stuff would be really cool, because that would get, especially if you tied into like fear, because you have the adults there, and if they have younger kids like Jay and I do, they could start reading that and then build up and already be fans. And then when they get older enough to read fear and stuff, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. I like the whole tying in with the Fear County, having like a centralized place with all these adventures happening within that area. That'd be pretty cool. So
and I was telling, I think on Dead Headspace podcast we was talking about, since I came back and fear has gotten more popular, I was thinking about, what if fear was like, what if it was never the same? If, it's an evil county, but maybe there's like temporal rifts and stuff where the terrain changes from time to time. And different horrors and stuff are not in the same spot they were before and all that. Which kind of, that gives you a lot of leeway.
Was it like messing with different timelines?
Yeah,
kind of.
So I believe in the sequel to Fear. They're actually going to go in at the same point that it started before, but it's not the same. It's going to be all new horrors and places like that. So it's going to be interesting to do.
Does it be the same characters again, or is it all new characters?
All new characters, except, well, I really don't want to give much away, but
yeah,
it will have one of the main characters, years and years down the line.
Okay, so it's a time jump from when Fear ended.
It is, yeah.
Okay,
It's a
cool.
time jump.
But now you have to add your middle grade to all of the other projects you're doing. So we apologize for putting more into your lap.
Like, honestly, I do think that's a really cool. I don't know if I'm sure someone has done it to have like an adult book, but branch off and have middle grade, like more content for it. Like that ties into the same thing. That just sounds really cool.
I'm kind of surprised that Stephen King hasn't done a middle grade Dark Tower stuff.
That would be good, if you would do that.
He's probably got books just in his trunk, and he hasn't read anything for 10 years.
I don't know how he does it. I mean, I guess he's a prolific man.
Yeah.
He's always coming out with something.
I feel like he's had 2 books a year for a while now, like one in March and one in September or August or something like that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, because I asked this about a year ago to an established writer. Since you're established, since you have a reputation with some of your zebra books, with Fear, Bloodkin, all of the bigger books, do you feel like there's a lot of pressure still on you to create a hit today to match what you've done with the older ones, or do you feel like you could coast every now and then? Not that you don't put as much effort into it, but if it doesn't get the same kind of reaction, you're fine with it because you have your bigger books in the past.
I don't worry much about that. If I just want to tell a good story. It's enjoyable and entertaining, and I mean, if it takes off and it's a hit, that's fine. I wrote the Zebra. I wrote the Buzzard Zone. It's my zombie book. I think it's 2015, and it pretty much just. I mean, everybody was sick of zombies. I mean, it was really popular when Brian King put out The Rising and then the Walking Dead and everything. And I waited a little too long, and then put it out late, and it just kind of fell flat. I think it's still a really incredible book, and so people ought to check it out. It's got a different twist on zombies that I don't think it's been done before.
So it sounds like it's more like for your hardcore fans. I mean, you may not pick up new fans from it,
probably not,
as you would if they discover one of your older ones today. Okay.
No, it's actually got the Sisters of Slaughter. It's got Michelle Garza and Melissa Layson in it. Mm-hmm. They're pretty prominent characters in it, and it's got James Newman and his family in it. So it's got a nod to some of my hard writer friends.
But just like Westerns sort of fizzled out for a while, and they've come back strong.
Yeah.
I feel like zombies are starting to fizzle out some. So they'll probably come back strong here in the next couple of years.
I think zombies will come back strong once The Walking Dead, the TV show, ends.
Yeah, well, it's the final season, so it's going to be over soon.
So then give it a few years after that, then it might be resurrected with some cool zombie stories. Right? Because there's a few zombie movies out there that are pretty decent, like Train to Busan, and some of those that are still good. If you forget about the TV show, so
and it just got really oversaturated.
Yeah.
It did.
Walking Dead became so popular, so everyone was wanting to capitalize on it. So it's not that zombies.
At least I can say I wrote my zombie book. So if anybody,
there you go. So is that available, like in paperback and stuff, or was it just that? Okay.
I've got plenty of copies. If anybody wants a copy, they can contact me, through Messenger or Twitter or Instagram, and I'll be glad to sign a copy. And I've got plenty of copies to sell, except for Fear's getting kind of low because I went to Scares to Cares and sold a lot of Fears, and
Oh, that's cool. So that's a success for you then.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
So what was Scares That Care? How was that for you? Because you told us before we started you hadn't been to a convention in like 13 years or so.
Yeah, it was great. I was kind of a little scared about it at first because I hadn't been in the public for so long.
Uh-huh.
But everybody seemed like they were really glad to see me, and a lot of my my readers and stuff from Facebook and Twitter came to see me, and Nick traveled down there and saw me, and
trust me, we know because he told us we know.
So did you get to meet a lot of like fellow authors that you hadn't got to meet before? That was pretty cool too.
Yeah, on one side of me was Jeff Strand, and on the other side was Wesley Sallard, and we had Jonathan Jantz a couple of tables down from me, so it was really cool. I got to meet some people I hadn't I had contact with them through social media, but I had never met them in person.
Mm-hmm.
I know Laura Hightower went. Right?
Yeah, I saw her.
Red Lego went. Yeah.
Laura Hightower had bourbon on her table, and they told her she wasn't allowed to do that.
That sounds like a blast to me. So
Jonathan Jans is like 7 feet tall, isn't he?
Oh, he is.
I've seen pictures of him. He's just a giant.
Well, I'm a short guy, so I was pretty much. It was like Chewbacca and Rhoda, with Yoda and Chewbacca. Whenever I'm standing next to somebody.
Are you going to go back to Scares That Care again this year, or I guess this next year coming up?
I believe I won't be at the Author Con, the one in April, but I'll probably be at the one later on in the year.
Yeah,
because it's more convenient for my family because the kids are out of school and we can make a little mini vacation. So.
I think I might try to go to one of them next year because it's like a 6-7 hour drive from where I'm at.
Yeah, it is. Me too. It's about a 9 hour drive.
It's in West Virginia. Is it West Virginia or Virginia?
Virginia, yeah.
Virginia.
Williamsburg.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's right there by the ocean. It sounds like a fun time.
It was,
And maybe this year will be bigger with COVID kind of going away a little bit.
Yeah.
So did you do anything special there? Like have any panels or anything? I don't know. Do they do panels?
We had a panel with everybody who survived, the horror shutdowns. Like I represented the zebras, the mid '90s shutdown where zebras and so many horror publishers shut down, and then there was Brian and some others represented like when Leisure shut down, and then what was it? Sam Hain shut down.
Sam Hain,
that was Jonathan Jantz. So we all told our stories and how we survived it and how we came back. It was a fun panel.
What, in your opinion, what do you think? Because I feel like sort of, especially with the Indian small press, like horror sort of being revitalized. What do you think has sort of, in your opinion, what has brought that on?
I think it's easier to be published by by indie presses, and a lot of people are self-publishing,
right.
And that's bringing a lot of people to the light, as far as you can get on social media and promote your stuff and you get a following and it wasn't like that back when I was. You either published, in the small press magazines or something, or you got an agent and you found you were shooting toward being a paperback writer, or if you were lucky, you would get into hardcover like King and Kuntz.
Right.
But now, a lot of people are writing for the indie presses. They're satisfied with that. The indie presses are doing good. You see, like Cedar Palayo's Children of Chicago. It's it's getting a lot of notice, in like USA Today and
I think it was in Newsweek too, maybe something like that.
And Eric LaRocca's, book. I mean, it's got a lot of.
Yeah, he blew up on TikTok and.
Oh yeah.
It's more of a I always compare it to more like a ground roots campaign because
Right.
you're touching it more. You're on the ground level, and you're the one that's out there doing the promotional part of it and get it floating around. And it seems like every other week there's a new small press company that comes out of nowhere. There's a lot, not saying it's oversaturated, but there's a lot who wants to share what they're getting, and get it out there. And so it all plays back with social media and ways to distribute it these days, especially like with Amazon and their KDP way to get books out to people. I just think it's a good time to be a writer right now, and hope somebody gets your work. So
plus you have a more diverse type of writer. I mean, you've got a lot of women horror writers. You've got the gay and lesbian community, trans. You got indigenous horror writers now,
right?
And so I mean, it's it's just a great time to write and read horror.
And that term horror has just got so many. It's got 1,000 different genres underneath the umbrella of horror. So there's nothing anymore just straight regular horror because that doesn't exist anymore. Everything else, there's so many different kinds under that umbrella. So
I think horror is the most diverse genre because literally you can do horror plus anything. It can be horror romance, horror sci-fi, horror fantasy. It can be whatever.
Horror space erotica.
Horror space erotica. Gotta get your plug in there. That's what Jay's working on a collection. It's gonna be all horror space erotica. Do you like sort of the feet on the ground aspect of it now compared to back in the Zebra days, like where you're the one pushing it and you're the one?
Yeah, I do.
You're sort of the face of your own stuff now.
Right. Yeah, I feel more in control now because back then, you signed a contract and they pretty much did what they wanted to with your book, and you didn't have any
you're kind of hands off. Yeah.
Right. And now, I mean, I'm pretty much going to publishers saying I'd like to do this, and they're saying, yeah, let's do it. Or I'll go to Crossroads and say, well, I'd like to reissue, one of these old books of mine, and they're ready to do it, and they're really good about doing the audio books. The audio books are, when I get my royalty check, a lot of it is audio book royalties. So that's a really good aspect. And I've got my narrator that did Fear and Undertaker's Moon and Hell Hollow. He lives here in Tennessee.
Okay.
Got a very distinctive Southern voice, can do some really good, accents and voices and stuff like that.
Kind of acting it out for you.
Yeah. And he was going to do Bloodkin. He had some problems with his throat. He thought he would never narrate again. His name is J. Rodney Turner, and so he thought his career was over with, but the doctors must have been a little overcautious because it all came back, and he was too late to do Bloodkin. But I'm sure he'll do more of my audiobooks.
The audiobook world, that's just something huge to tap into. I mean, I myself, I can't really do them, but the way the world is today, everyone's multitasking, and you have it on your phone now. I mean, before audiobooks were, you can still go to the library, the local library here, and look at audiobooks, and it's like,
and get the chunk of CDs.
Yeah, it's like it's like 16 CDs, or even the cassettes are like 25 cassettes, But now you can have it on your phone. People are working while they're listening to it. I can't do two things at once, so I can't. I haven't picked up on audiobooks yet, but it's just so convenient to get the audio version of it. 7 hours and you're through a book. That's a work day for some people.
Or you're like our friend, or you're like Kelly, and she listens to it 3 times speed, and she's done the whole thing in like 2 hours. That boggles my mind that people can do it on like 2.5 because it just sounds like a chipmunk. And like I can barely do it on 1 time speed if I'm trying to multitask. I don't see how my brain just can't process it.
I try it. Speed. I try it. And I'm not start typing an email or something or working on something, and I'm like, I just missed 20 minutes. I need to go back. It would probably take me longer to do the audiobook than it would be to read the actual book because I'd be repeating what I just listened to. So, but yeah,
I can do it if I'm like driving or like at the grocery store is when I do most of my audiobooks or like when I'm cooking dinner, but I can't work and do it at the same time.
Yeah.
Now, I think Fear and Undertaker's Moon are 14 hours long. So well, that's a major investment if you're going to listen to those. But Fear is incredible because he really does all the voices incredibly good, you know. So
14 hours is pretty good because I started to do The Stand. It was like 50 something hours. Yeah,
that is long.
I think my oldest daughter was listening to the Harry Potter ones on audio. She was getting it from the library, and she's getting it, you know, listen to it on her phone. It's somewhere like 22 hours, 23 hours. Some of the, you know, later books that were just thick. So, yeah, that's pretty in depth.
And that will bring in a whole new audience too, because some people just only listen to audiobooks because that's all they have time to do. So that's a whole new audience to bring in.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about the indie and small press stuff. I feel like with the average reader, there's sort of a stigma against indie, like, oh, it's indie, like it's not very good because if it was good, they'd have a publisher do it. And that's just completely not true at all. Like there's some amazing authors I've discovered through the indie small press world that are better than what you'd find on your Walmart or, you know, Barnes and Noble bookshelves most of the time.
I believe so too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think the indie press takes more chances. You know, I mean, there's
absolutely,
you know, a lot of the major publishers and everything are, you know, they're going to want to pigeonhole you as a certain writer or something and don't want you to stray from a certain genre. And look, if they try to do that with Joe Lansdale, I mean, he writes everything. And of course, you know, Joe's a different guy, kind of guy. I've known Joe for years and years, you know, but
it's fun too to see somebody start to get big, you know, because like you mentioned Eric Garaka earlier, like, you know, I read the first one of them, you know, that he self-released, and now look at it, like he's just blowing up and getting, you know, huge deals, and he's huge now. You know, it's cool to see somebody, you know, go up the steps. And you're like, hey, I was there on the ground level. Don't forget us, okay? Don't forget. But yeah,
and like you said, a lot of the bigger stuff, it's very cookie cutter, very, you know, play by the playbook kind of thing. And I guess that's one thing that is better about, you know, indie is there are no rules. You can do whatever you want to. When you were with Zebra, did they make you say, oh, you can't do this, you have to put this in, or do they not really change too much of the stories themselves?
They never changed very much in my books. That I don't really think there was a whole lot of editing going on. You know, pretty much. But when I reread the paperback, it pretty much had everything in it that you know I put in it. So I don't remember them ever having any objections to anything I put in there. So, you know, I guess I was pretty lucky, or Zebra just didn't care. They had so many, they put out so many books in a year's time that they, you know, they said, well, here, just
do it.
Just print it, put a slap of cover on it, print it, and let's get it on the bookshelves.
Yeah.
I wonder if they ever do like audience testing, like they do with commercials or movies, or just you know, take a sample and just like, okay, tell me how this feels to you, and then yay or nay, you know. And then some of the bigger companies are like, no, so we're gonna take that out. But yeah, with the independent small press, you know, it's more organic to me. It just has a different feel to it. So
yeah,
and like you said, it's so diverse. Like there's so many different authors and voices and stuff, and they're doing, you know, their own thing.
Yeah, and there's a lot more respect with the indie presses. I mean, most of the presses are more the writer oriented. I mean, they're more for the writer than they are for, you know, I mean, it was all a big money thing with Zebra. I mean, it's all about making money. Zebra would sign on, you know, inexperienced writers because they just need to fill those spots. And and I'd written short stories and everything, but they didn't know anything about that. It was just that my agent submitted my first novel, which he had it out for like 2 years. I mean, I think he started at A and it went all the way to Z, and Zebra picked it up.
They were the last one on the phone.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. As we start to wind down a little bit, who are some of the indie writers that you've been checking out? Have you checked any out this year? Have you discovered any that you're really fond of?
Well, I've been reading a lot of Haley Piper's stuff and Laurel stuff. Sonora Taylor, I really love her stuff, and Brennan LaFaro had a really good book, Slattery Falls. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I read that last week or a week before last. It was good.
Samantha Kolesnik's True Crime. I love that book.
I haven't read True Crime. I have it to read. I read Waif by her.
I've got Waif coming. She it's coming. A signed copy is. So.
Waif is weird in a good way.
Waif to me was I think I said it was like two different stories on one. So I liked it. Yeah, it was weird.
I love True Crime. That was just brutal from the first sentence.
Yes, I love that book.
I know you said Sonora Taylor. I read her new short story collection. Somehow that's the first of hers I've read, and I don't know how or why, because I have all of the other stuff. I just haven't gotten to them yet. So yeah,
I really want to read her Little Paranoias. It's got the skull on the cover.
Yeah,
and I kind of think Haley Piper's just ruling the world right now.
It seems like it, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I think she's about to blow up as big as like Eric did, because I think she's got 2 books coming out with bigger sort of publishers next year, I think, which is exciting for her. That's cool. I really her Possession of Natalie Glasgow. It's a really short novella, but it's one of the coolest possession stories I've ever read.
Yeah.
Do you have any sort of dream publishers, like indie small press publishers you'd like to work with? I know you've done stuff with Silver Shamrock, and you said Crossroads and stuff. Is there anybody else you'd like to work with?
I don't know. It's just I'm not a whole lot. I've got my own publishers, and I'm not really familiar with a lot of the others. There are new ones coming up that like Sinister Smile. I've been invited to. I've got a story coming out in an anthology there. It's called Institutionalized. It's like insane asylum type stories and stuff like that.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And I just did a forward for another one of their anthologies. I forgot what it was, like Better Off Dead or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm always looking for new publishers and stuff like that, because one thing I learned when I wrote for Zebra was don't put all your eggs in one basket, because when Zebra went down, that was it for me.
Yeah.
That was my job, and I lost it, and so now I spread my projects evenly. I've got several publishers that I work with now.
Yeah.
Well, don't overdo it. Don't overdo it. Enjoy it. Don't overdo it.
Yeah.
You've got what, like 15 books coming out next year, something like that, probably.
It could be 8.
Yeah, could be 8.
Now that he has to work on the middle grade stuff, that's
there. Now it bumps 15, it up to 15.
So, yeah.
So with the A books,
some of these other ones first.
Is A books, is that all new, or is some of those going to be reprints of some of the old stuff?
Some are going to be reprints. Some are going to be new books.
Still 8. That's a lot.
Yeah,
working hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now 2 will be Dead-Eye, because we got one coming out in November. Then we got a Dead-Eye coming out in like May and June, with the Thunderstorm and the Silver Shamrock, and then we're going to have another one come out in November again, so in December. So Dead-Eye is going to have 2 books in 1 year. So
nice. I'm excited for those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, as we start winding down here, Ron, and he said we could call him Ron, guys.
Right. Don't call him Mr. Kelly. You got in trouble.
I got in trouble for it. So
You'll have me out standing on my porch yelling at some kids.
Yeah.
And get off my lawn.
I know you're on Instagram and Twitter. Where can people find you? You have a website, Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah.
What are all your handles?
My website's ronaldkelly.com. I got a blog that I don't write on very much called Southern Fried and Horrified. And actually, Southern Fried and Horrified is going to be the title of my memoir. Stygian
and
Sky
yeah.
Media is going to put out my memoirs. It's a memoir writing tips guide kind of thing.
Nice.
And this has really been a fun book to read because I'm just going back and writing how the progression from childhood to right now, how I got interested in horror and got public, made the big time and then lost it.
Lane.
Yeah. So it's going to be a fun book.
Is there a tentative release date for that at all, or you're not sure yet?
No, Jared he said, he said no deadline or anything, just whenever I get it done. But I'm sure I'm going to have it done by like mid-December. So it'll be out next year too.
Nice. I'm really looking forward to that one. That'll be cool because I like learning the history of an author and having them tell it in their own words. That's pretty cool.
It's gonna be a little history lesson about the horror genre too, because I've been through it since the mid '80s. So there's a little history lesson with that too.
There's not as many authors that can. Yeah, there's not many authors that can brag about having that longevity like that either.
Yeah,
a lot of them are here 1 minute and they're gone the next. You never hear from them again.
Yeah,
so have that longevity is something to be proud of.
I hope it lasts a little longer too.
Well, at the rate you're going at, I think you'll be here for a while.
Yeah, I hope so.
Like the future sounds exciting for all the stuff that you have coming out.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. We can't thank you enough for being here. I mean, this is special for us to have someone of your status to come to this little show that we kind of flub our way through, every now and then. So thank you so much.
Had a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for being here. Totally appreciate it. I mean, we couldn't be more happy about this. That's pretty much the wraps, right, Brad, for this episode. It's episode number 18.
Ronald says he has a few copies of Fear left. Hit him up on Twitter, Instagram. Buy the last copies of Fear. And then the Dead-Eye Saga comes out December 14th.
Yeah.
Get your mitts on it.
Really looking forward to that one. So for everyone in the chat, thanks so much for stopping by. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for hanging out with us. For co-host Brad over there, my name is Jay. Our special guest this evening, Ronald Kelly, a legend on paper cuts. Can you believe it? All right, that's going to do it for this exciting episode. I think we're going to take Thanksgiving off, right?
No, we're doing an episode on Turkey Day. We're just going to live stream us eating dinner.
Okay,
that's all it's going to be.
Because I eat and watch football, so
yeah, sweet potato casserole, all the good stuff.
Right.
Of course, you guys will know when we have the next show because we advertise it and we stuff it down your throats. So
it'll be December. It's Tyler Jones is our next guest.
Right.
We don't have one for it before. Yeah, we do. We got to talk about that. All right, let's go do it. Boy, God, everyone's like seeing behind the scenes arguments now with us now.
That's all right.
Everyone, thanks for joining us. See ya.
Thanks for coming on, Ronald. It was a lot of fun, man.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.